Good morning. Good morning. It's Rashida, and I am so happy to be here with you guys today. I haven't been on a solo live in a while, so this feels kind of weird, but hey, if you don't know me, I am Rashida from Sheeta's on Loose, and today we are going to talk about the recent immigration changes in Mexico. Okay, so if you are in any Facebook groups for expats in Mexico, for people coming to Mexico, a lot of travel groups as well, people are talking about the immigration crisis in Mexico, which, well, I'm not going to call it a crisis today. But there are some changes that people who have been um, using using the Mexican immigration system in a way that Mexico never really intended are quite unhappy with. So you'll see in a lot of the groups people who are like, I've been victimized, or like, I can't believe they did this to me. And Mexico is, I'm never coming back but because they're enforcing their immigration policies. Like solely, that's why. So I'm going to tell you what they're enforcing, what's different starting in October-ish than it was before, what you need to know, and why this impacts you, even if you're just coming down for a short vacation. These are all important things. So don't think, oh, it's immigration. I'm not moving here, so it doesn't matter. It matters. It matters a lot. And there are things you need to know. So let's get into it. Good morning to everybody who's here. And if you're watching on the replay, give me a shout. Say hi. Let me know. Okay. I made notes. All right. So when you come into Mexico as a tourist, you're given you're asked to fill out a form, and you're given the bottom white piece. That is the FMM card. Migration something something. It's an immigration card. And on that card, the immigration officer that you see in Mexico writes the number of days you're allowed to stay in the country. Historically, for Americans, they almost always write, and Canadians, they almost always write 180 days because we're allowed to stay in the country up to 180 days. But it's 180 days like at their discretion. And they're using their discretion now. So before, the Mexican system was like, they gave you a piece of paper, this FMM card, and when you were leaving, you had the same FMM card but showed how long you were allowed to be there. But now they've computerized your systems. So they know when you've come in, when you've left, and when you've come in and left before. So they're getting pretty fancy at knowing who is coming down, staying for 180 days, hitting the border real quick for a week, 2, 3 days, 3 hours, and then coming right back to get another 180 days. And what Mexico is saying is that if you want more than 180 days in the country in 1 year, you live here, right? Like, let's not play games. If you need to be in the country for more than 180 days in a year, you live here. So apply for residency. But the reason people are upset is that they're saying that when they're at the border. Like, you don't know before you get to immigration how long you're going to be allowed to be in the country. And that's why this matters for tourists, not just people who want to be here for months at a time. Even if you only want to be here for 14 days, like I said, or 7 days, I'm going to say things that matter. So what's happening is that you've heard a lot about the southern border of the US, and America's trying so hard to keep the migrants out. Well, they started working with Mexico. I heard there was some money from the US to Mexico to help them control the migrant flow coming up from Central America. These aren't solely Mexican immigrants. I hear a lot of people like, why would you go to Mexico? Everybody's trying to come up. Everyone's trying to leave Mexico. A lot of what you see at the southern border aren't Mexican immigrants. They're coming from other places. They're coming from other islands. They're coming from the Caribbean. They're coming from Africa. They're moving north, right? North into America. So anywhere you can kind of get north to Mexico, people are coming, or over and north. My geography is crap. You can see that, my over and north. To Mexico, people are doing that. And so in Mexico and the US, both have stepped up their efforts to stop that flow of migrants. And so people who have never had their status scrutinized before and are not used to being asked questions by either immigration officers or police officers are in a huff all over the internet because they're being asked questions. And if they don't have the forms they need, they are subject to deportation. And apparently a lot of Americans think that they should not be subject to deportation if they've overstayed their visa in a country. Y'all know how we are. Some people are. And so what's happening is you have to look at your FMM card, the one you get at the immigration checkpoint, and you have to give it back to them when you leave. And you have to know the number of days that are on your card. I talk to people all the time who are tourists here, and I'll say, like, I messaged someone this morning, hey, and said, how long is on your immigration card? And the answer is generally like, oh, I don't know. I never checked. I don't know. And I'm like, the country told you how long you can be here. You need to know what that is because it may not line up with your plans. And for a lot of people who come here long-term, 6 months, 9 months, 6 months, 3 months, whatever, they are not getting the long terms that they wanted. So if immigration has seen that you're coming in repeatedly, they're giving people 10-day visas, 7-day visas. I've seen some 60-day visas, but they're not giving you 180-day visas if they think that this is something that you're repeatedly doing. Okay, why this matters to tourists. Because there's a crackdown, and anybody anywhere who looks like anything, because migrants are coming from all over, because anybody could not have proper papers to be here, there are a lot more immigration checkpoints on buses, at bus stations, on the street. On the street, you're walking down the street, a police officer could walk up to you and be like, show me your papers. This is not an immigration officer. It's just a regular police officer who's like, I'm bored, right? It hasn't happened to me. But he could just show up and say, like, show me what you got. You got an FMM card, you got your passport, and they want you to have the originals. So for all the tourists who are used to leaving their passport in a safety deposit box in their hotel or just having a copy on them, that is no longer good enough in Mexico. You need to have your original passport and your original FMM card if you're here as a tourist. And if you are a permanent resident, you need to have your residency card on you at all times. I got my residency card in July. I never carried it until I didn't carry it on me regularly. I'd have it sometimes. I wouldn't have it otherwise. Since October, when they've cracked down, I have not left the house without it because your girl's not getting deported. And if your status is legal, it's unlikely that you're going to get deported if you're here and you're allowed to be here. But here's the thing. When the police stop you and ask you for your papers, they don't have a way in that moment of checking to see whether you're actually legal. What they do is they take you either to a police station and put you in jail, and then take you to an immigration holding site, or they take you directly to an immigration holding site. And if you've seen like the horrors of the immigration holding sites in America, lower your expectations from that, right? Like it's not a good situation. And they can hold you there for up to 60 days. I've heard people being held for 6 days until they just need to go in the system and figure out who you are and if you're allowed to be here. But yes, that process can take six days, 4 days, whatever. Apparently the way to get out quickly is to have someone show up with your papers. So if you have a roommate, calling and getting a hold of your roommate, if you can get a call. I don't know if you can get a call. I think some people can get a call. Mexico's one of those like, we'll see what happens places. And so I've heard of people getting calls and I've heard of people not getting calls. But if you can call someone and they can bring down your passport and your FMM card or your residency card, if they can bring that down to the immigration holding station, you'll probably get out of there faster. But if you don't have it, then you're going to be an immigration holding. Dave says, "It's Mexico, pay your way out." I have not heard anybody say they've been able to pay their way out. I've heard people say they were stuck there. So that stereotype that you can pay your way out of anything in Mexico might get some of y'all messed up real bad. Right? Like, okay. So the cultural ear says, "My concern with the crackdown is that while I've never been to Mexico previously, I bought a round trip ticket from Texas to Cabo and was planning to go to Colombia in between the return trip." Okay. So this is why I'm talking to a tourist with this one. When you're coming in to immigration, what you need to do when you're flying into America or driving up or down through the border, what you need to do is have all of your documents showing where you're going, how long you're staying, and where you're staying. So if you have all of your accommodations already paid for and you can show it, or if you're staying with a friend and you can show that that's what you're doing, and you have your flight in and out of town, and it's for 60 days, they're more likely to give you a 60-day visa. But if you just show up and you're like, "I'd like 180 days, please," with no details of what your plan is, you might get 10 days. So the cultural ear, I don't know that you need to do Colombia as a separate trip, but it depends on how long you want to be in Mexico on either side. Like when you're coming back from Colombia, so you're going to come into into Mexico and then leave to Colombia and then come back to Mexico. If you wanted to do that, you're going to need to get 2 different FMMs because you're coming through immigration twice. So the second time, they might be more concerned about what you're doing. So it's something to think about. If you only wanted to be there on the second time, like 7 days, you're probably fine. If you wanted to be there 30 days, it might be a problem. And that's part of what's happening now, is that nobody knows what's going to happen. Like, nobody knows what the stations are going to say, what the immigration officers are going to say, or what they're going to give you, because it's totally up to their discretion. And you might just get somebody who's having a bad day, right? Like I said, I have residency here, and so I'm less concerned about this, but I am concerned about always having my residency card on me. So if I'm stopped on the street, I know I'm okay. All right. Let's see. I want to make sure, if you have questions, drop them in the comments. Let's see. Oh, I mentioned this earlier, but as a tourist, when you come in, you need to check and see how many days they gave you. It may not be what you asked for, but that's all you get. In a lot of Facebook groups, what I'm hearing people say is, "I am going to be here for 90 days, but they only gave me 60 days on my visa. What happens if I overstay?" Okay. If you overstay, you can, on your way out of the country, there's a fee to overstay, which I think is 30 or 40 US dollars. It's not a big consequence, right? It's not terrible. But if in between the time you are here legally, if during your overstay period, you're stopped by the police or an immigration crackdown and you've overstayed, you're going to get deported. So if all goes according to plan, if you never leave your home, right? And you don't get stopped on the street and asked for your documents, or if you don't get stopped at a bus station or somewhere else, then you go, you pay, you're done. If you overstay and you get stopped and you get deported, a couple of things that can happen. Mexico can temporarily ban you or permanently ban you from a country. So you can't come back, or you can't come back for a while. Sometimes I hear they're also not banning people. You can turn right around and come back. Not right around, but you can come back. But the thing about getting deported is that if you want to go to a country that requires a visa in advance, one of the things I would say always ask. I don't like to say always. It's the lawyer in me. I hate saying always, but I've never seen a visa in advance application that doesn't ask, "Have you been deported from another country?" And yes, I was deported, but it was because I overstayed, but it's okay because it's Mexico. Probably ain't gonna get your application approved, right? Like, if you were deported for overstaying in one country, future countries probably won't want you come. Like, if they have a visa application, you're probably not going to get approved. Rochelle asks, any idea of how long the crackdown will be in place? Rochelle, I think forever. I think this is just a new way of doing things. They didn't have computerized systems before, and they have them now. And so now, when people were just going in and out, in and out, in and out, now the the immigration officer can look on the computer and say, like, girl, you were here 2 weeks ago. Like, you need to, like, you have a lot of times what they're doing is saying, okay, we know you're coming back and you live here. And they, so here's 7 days or here's 10 days, go to the, go clean out your apartment, grab your stuff and leave the country because you don't live here anymore. You've been living here, they don't say illegally. You've been living here like as a long-term tourist, but that's not what we do so anymore. So grab your stuff, go, and then apply for residency and come back. And so that's how it's impacting people who live here permanently and people who are tourists here. Even if you're only here for 3 days, it impacts you because you need to carry your passport, your original passport, and your FMM card with you all the time. If you do not carry that, you can end up in a immigration holding center, and y'all don't want to do that. It's not good. All right. So what else do I need to say? Do you have questions? Because I might have covered this. This might be a short live today. Mrs. Bailey's 2 says her and her husband were pulled over the last time I left the airport. I haven't been pulled over. I pass cops all the time in the street and they don't bother me. I think they don't want to do the paperwork of, but yeah, so it's not like, what I want to say is that you don't have to be in fear that you're going to be in Mexico and cops are going to be constantly stopping you, asking you for your documents. Because like I said, I've been here for a year. No one has ever asked me for anything. No one they leave me alone. But if they do stop you, you need to have it on you, because the process for them checking in the computer, because we've said it's computerized now. It's computerized. So they know how long you're supposed to be here. They know what your status is. As a permanent resident, they have my photo, they have my fingerprints. It should be really easy to know that I'm supposed to be here. But it might, based on the number of people they have and based on the pace of the work being done, it might be days, even though it's simply just a clickety-click-clack in the computer. And like I said, with me, they can pull up my face. So it's not like, we don't know for sure who you are. No, you know who I am because I'm a resident. You have my fingerprints, you have my photo. But it could be days before they let me out. Angela Martin says, so for those with temporary or permanent residency, will your residency card be enough? Yes, I only travel. When I'm in Mexico City or traveling around, I only carry my residency card with me. They don't need my passport. Okay, so Stephanie had an immigration officer get on her bus and ask for her passport. I know Adelia had that happen too. I have not had that happen. I know in a lot of cities, you have to show your passport when you buy a ticket or when you get on a bus. I've traveled numerous times from Mexico City to San Miguel de Allende, and I'm sure on some of those times I didn't have my passport on me, and no one's ever asked me either when buying I usually buy my tickets online, but either getting on the bus or anything, no one's ever asked me for a passport. But that is a thing that happens when you buy bus tickets. Some of the bus lines, one of the bus lines put out a statement that when you buy bus tickets, we're going to ask for your passport or your immigration forms now. I've heard of people being stopped in inter-country flights. So they are going from one part of Mexico to another part of Mexico. And I've heard, the desk agent walking over when they're trying to board, like, hi, show me. Show me, right? It's not even a police officer. It's not an immigration officer. It's like the desk agent. But if you don't have it, then what do? I'm sure we're going to call Policia to come get you. So make sure you have that stuff with you. Rochelle says, if a crackdown is making it harder to get residency? I have not heard it is. In fact, I would think it would make it easier because they know more people want it. What they're doing now is recommending that if you come down looking for, if you're a constant tourist, that you go get residency instead of doing that. They've also said that they are going to decide when you come down whether you're a snowbird or a digital nomad based on your age. No, of course, guidance around that. And it sounded like they were going to be more lenient with snowbirds. So yes, the snowbirds can come down for 180 days and then go back home. But you digital nomads coming down here and coming and going and coming and going and coming and just doing whatever you want, they're cracking down on that. So I find it interesting that they are treating people differently based on age, but they can do whatever they want. It's their rules. So, and if an immigration officer or police officer asks for your ID, it's not the time to be like, I don't have to show you anything, because guess what you do? You do. You have to do it. I've also seen in groups where people are saying things like, oh, they gave me 60 days. What if I write a 1 in front of a 6? So it looks like 160 days because I write it on paper. I mean, it's also in their computer system. So an officer on the street might not haul you down because your paper looks correct. But when you're leaving, they're going to see that you tampered with their documents. I don't know. This doesn't seem like a great idea. So lots of drama going on. Lots of drama going on with immigration to Mexico, but a lot of it isn't you don't really have to worry about. Come down legally, check to see how many days you have, don't overstay, and then carry your documents on you, and you'll be fine. The people who are upset, like I said, are the ones who are like, they should want me here spending my money. I come down. I've been doing this for years. How dare they? How dare they? How dare Mexico tell me I can't come into their country and spend as long as I want? How dare they? I am here. They should want me here. I am spending my money. Apparently, they don't want you here. Apparently, your money's not that important to them because they're telling you to take your ass home. Right? You're not as important as you think you are. And that is where a lot of people are getting messed up in the system. Stephanie and I have a workshop for getting residency in Mexico. If you ever want, if you're thinking about getting residency, we did a workshop 2 years ago with Adelia from Picky Girl Travels. Steph, can you text me that link? Because I don't know the link to that on this computer. Let me see if I can find it. Bum, bum, bum. So I'm going to drop the link to that in a minute because my business partner told me I should. That's a great thing about having people on your team. And so if she's able to send me that link, I'll drop it. It's a great workshop. If you want to know how to get residency, definitely check that out. I'm also going to drop the videos that I did about when I got residency in Mexico. Cha-cha-cha-cha-cha. So I did one video that describes the process in America. And then I did a second video that described the process in Mexico because there's 2 parts. So I'm dropping the US one now. Getting residency video, which is about what we did. My mom and I went to the Miami consulate, which if you don't have to go to Miami, don't go to Miami. Don't go to Miami if you don't have to go. It wasn't a pleasant experience. And I don't expect it to be like sunshines and rainbows, but it was quite toxic. Um, and then when I got to Mexico to do the second half of the process, a lot of people have people help them with that, like a lawyer or immigration professional help them with that. I did it myself. It wasn't terrible. Knowing what I know now, um, I might have someone else help me. I might have had someone else help me with that. But now, yeah. In getting residency in, video number 2. Yeah. So, you know, you can getting residency in Mexico. If you have some money saved, is not prohibitively difficult, right? If you don't, it's a little harder, right? Like you need to show that there's a reason. Like most countries, they want to know that you have enough money to support yourself. And then if you don't have enough money to support yourself, like they even want to know that you have income coming in or pension coming in every month that will support you, and that you're not coming down here for a handout or to get like a financial, or to take a job. You're not coming down here to take a job. Most people who come down here for jobs are either, the companies they're working for are either looking for US employees for specific things like teaching English, or their company, they work for Procter and Gamble and they're sending them down here to work here. So I'm going to drop the link for the getting residency in Mexico workshop. We also did workshops for getting residency in France and in Portugal. So if those countries are of interest to you too, check out those workshops. Yeah, so I've talked a lot about I'm not used to talking so much on these videos because I'm always with someone else. But I've talked a lot about the process, what you need to know, what you need to be concerned about. If there's anything else that you need to know, yeah, drop a question and we'll find out. Let's see. The cultural area says, how do I show accommodation coverage if I'm staying with a friend? I would probably have a copy of your friend's lease, if possible, and a letter from your friend saying, yes, you're staying with her for these dates. The workshops, girl, click that link. I don't know how much the workshops are. Sorry. This is not off the top of my head. Stephanie knows how much the workshops are, if she's still here. But yeah, I just dropped a link. Boom, there. Oh. Let me find out so I can actually tell you something with confidence today. Getting residency in Mexico workshop is $39. So yeah, Miss Bailey too. That's how much those are. Deanna, what's a snowbird? Snowbirds are typically Americans or Canadians who move to warmer weather in the winter. So you'll see a lot of snowbirds from like New York who come to Florida, but a lot of them also come to Mexico and spend the winter there. So they're nice and warm. And then when it gets nice in their home country, they go back there. So they spend about half the year there. Some of them own homes down here, but they, you know, they go back and forth. So I think we covered it, y'all. I think we covered it. I think that's all we're doing today. I'm about to go on a food tour with Eat Like a Local Mexico, and they are my faves. So I'm really excited about that. I'm about to eat all the tacos at some markets I haven't been to before, but that's not why you're here. You're here to talk about immigration. But like I said, I think we've covered it. If you're not subscribed, come through, click the button, subscribe. If you, it's your first time here, welcome. I talk about life in Mexico. early retirement and career breaks on this channel. So I've dropped off my videos that I made when I got residency in Mexico, and I dropped off the link to the Exodus Homecoming workshop about getting residency, 1 in Mexico, 2 France, 3 Portugal. I use the residency, the workshop, as the blueprint for what I needed to do to get residency, and I got it with no problems. So I would say the only thing to know now that's different from the workshops is we talked about how people get by on visa runs, and now you can't get by on a visa run. Like you need to do that. Let me see if I have info. Yes, hold on one second. My friend that came in yesterday got, as a tourist, got 20 days on her FMM form. So if you want to be here as a tourist, you need to tell them how many days you're going to be here for. If it's a week and they give you 20 days, cool. But if you're planning on being here 30 days and you don't tell them in advance, they may only give you 7 or 10 or whatever. Also, you, as far as I can tell, I have not heard from someone who was able to extend it. Some people are like, oh, I'm gonna go to immigration and see if I can extend it. And immigration's like, no, we don't. We don't do that. We don't. Like, you have what you have. Bye. I have not heard anyone being able to extend it once they get the number written on their form. So yeah, good things to know. Hey Chafin, it's your birthday? Yes, happy birthday, girl. Happy birthday, happy birthday. All right, I'm gonna end this now because the tacos are calling. Like I said, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. If you're watching this on the replay and you made it all the way to the end, hey, drop a comment and let me know. And I'll be back next week from Canada. I'll be on Vancouver Island next week, and we can talk about the process of getting into Canada because they have a whole app. A whole app. We're gonna talk about this. All right, bye y'all.